my name is Robert Newton Barger, the third.
I'm Josephine Catherine Disser Barger.
My grandfather was the first. My father was the second, so I ended up as the third.
And he was a country doctor, wasn't he, your grandfather?
My grandfather was a country doctor in a suburb of Peoria, Illinois. In fact, he invented the Barger safety smoking pipe. The deal with the safety smoking pipe was he would have to go out, patients out in the hinterlands, and he would drive in a horse and buggy, but he also smoked a pipe, and he was afraid that the sparks from the pipe would go back in and set fire to his buggy. So he invented this Barger safety smoking pipe that tied around the tobacco, and it kept the stuff from flying back in, setting his rig on fire.
And I grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'm named after two maiden aunts who were very, very Irish and never married. So I'm Josephine, but just plain Joe around here. Growing up in a family of 9, my dad died very early at age 52 and left my mother a widow with 9 children. My oldest brother, there were 2 boys who were the oldest and 7 girls following. The babies, identical twins. So it was a very interesting family. I grew up in a very, very loving family. Everybody kind of stayed at home, went to school, and went to work, and brought their paychecks home, put them on the mantle. My mom never went to work. We felt that we needed to support a mom who always told us, pull your bootstraps up and go on with life, which we all did in a very happy way. And 7 girls, my mother was at that time very demanding that the girls all stand up for themselves and be independent, which I think I prove around here and throughout my life. I finished at St. Mary's and then got my graduate degree at Notre Dame, and my degrees were in administration and in counseling. And so I went on as a Holy Cross sister when I joined and went through the novitiate training, became an administrator, taught for many years, and then administration, and then went into administrative counseling, really, at the university over in Illinois, Eastern. And that begins the story you tell. When you came home from Antarctica, you decided to go to the seminary.
Yeah, I went to the seminary and became a priest of the Diocese of Peoria, Illinois. I was in a number of different parishes, and then I met Joe down in Danville, where I was stationed.
I was the principal of the school in Danville, a K through 8.
We kind of admired one another from a distance.
Is it WCIA?
WCIA, that's right, very good.
Of Champaign-Urbana, had an evening prayer service every Sunday night, and he would give that on television, the evening prayer, occasionally. And so I saw that picture on television because the sisters in the convent would sit up and watch that television before we went to bed. So that's where I first met him, a face on TV. And then because the Holy Cross Sisters, of which I was, also had the parish that he served in. So naturally we would get together for parties. They would always invite him to those parties with all the other priests from our parish. So we had big parties at that time. So that's where we met.
Well, I think it was, Joel said to me, you're going to propose marriage to me or I'm out of here. Wasn't it something like that? Maybe it wasn't quite that way. But
I'm very directive. We were very much in love. And we knew that. And there was a great consternation, to leave the priesthood, which is a lifetime commitment and beautiful, that we still respect greatly. And my vocation meant a lot to me. I was a Holy Cross sister for 26 years. So I was very dedicated, and still am, to the Sisters of the Holy Cross out at St. Mary's. So it was a great commitment for me. But I did not want to live with a man in love, very much in love with, and still try to serve as a Holy Cross sister with my vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. So there are ways to get those but you have to go, because of the Sisters of the Holy Cross, I had to write to Rome and request a dispensation from the vows before I could be released as a Sister of the Holy Cross, which I did. And the Holy Cross Order in Rome was very kind to me and wrote a beautiful letter back and thanked me for what I had done, as the superior did at St. Mary's, for all that I had done for Holy Cross. You know, teaching all those years and being a principal and serving over in that parish in Urbana. When I received that letter, I said, Bob, I am free. And that's when he went to Peoria to approach the bishop.
And so I decided that I would leave the priesthood. But some of my colleagues in the priesthood there in Peoria, they wanted to leave, and they just left. You know, they didn't go in and talk to the bishop or anything like that. I said, well, by gosh, I'm not going to do that. It's at least the least I could do to go in and sit down and talk to him. So I did. So I went into his office and chatted with him for a while. And he said, well, thanks for stopping. And I said, well, I have something else to talk to you about, Bishop. I'm going to leave the priesthood. Wow. He really took that to heart in a way. And he said, Bob, what about the salvation of your immortal soul? I said, Bishop, you're a better theologian than that. I said, Bishop, I'd like to get your blessing before I leave. He said, sure. So kneel down here. So he gave me a blessing and I left.
We had a very private wedding because we did not want to shock anyone, and we did not want to be married where we had served. So that's why we were married up in Michigan, beautiful home in Michigan, where the minister, was with us, and friends of ours who were witnesses for us, and had a beautiful celebration there. Then we came home, and I will show you the wedding candle that we have. We keep it on our bed. It has the scripture readings, and it has the invitation that we sent out, not an invitation, an announcement, a wedding announcement is what we sent out to all families, friends, all over the world. So we keep that candle.
What would you end up doing after you left the parish?
What did I end up doing?
He stayed at the University of Illinois to pursue a PhD because he had 3 master's degrees already, and so to do something to continue to teach. He taught at the university. You taught morals. And you
Moral
taught,
theology.
Vatican II, the documents of Vatican II, in the Newman. See, he was assigned there for 6 years. And while he was there, you were pursuing your PhD.
Yeah.
I want to go back home to Indiana because I grew up in Fort Wayne and his parents were dead, Yeah. He had no more connections in Peoria. So he said, well, where will we go? I said, well, I'm not a Florida person. I said, why don't we try Indiana? Hint, hint. Maybe there's I said, let's go back. I said, we know people. I know people at St. Mary's. I know people at Notre Dame. When we moved here, the realtor showed us a place on the river right behind us here, the point at North Shore Woods. And so we saw a couple of places down there, one of whom had a beautiful view of the river. We moved into that beautiful home at the point at North Shore Woods.
Picture of it.
And
right
that's
there.
a picture of it on the wall. Our scene out on the river. We drove up Angela Boulevard, and I would drive past this, and I could see the construction. And I said, we got to find out what's going on here. So I thought, what are we going to do when we really want to retire from Notre Dame and Indiana? So we watched this place go up brick by brick. One of the brothers helped us get pictures of construction places around here, and we came in with our hard hats on and looked around, and eventually we had the opportunity to come all the way up here, and we went all the way up in the 4th floor, the other one up through the construction, because we wanted the view of Notre Dame. We kind of fell in love, of course, with Notre Dame.
What kind of things around here make you smile?
That's easy. Right behind you there. No, she's an example of the kind of staff that we have here. Very efficient, eager to serve. So we were really lucked out. We thought once we came here and we're here, we've been here for 10 years now, we couldn't think of a better place to be.